Welcome back to Cinematic. I'm Ryan, and so every time I come across a movie on this list, big long letterbox list that I'm going through, doing all these martial arts, Hong Kong action, American action movies, every time it comes to one that I have done a podcast on before, which is strange, that's an issue for anybody at this point, but anytime that happens, I try and kind of twist it a little bit. Most recently, I've been bringing my family on, and we've talked about, I think it was Blonde Fury and Righting Wrongs. So anything Cynthia Rothrock related, kind of. But this time, I thought I'd bring in some different family. So say hi to, and I'm going to, I can go both ways here, but I'll ask you, of course, Johnathanblade.
Johnathanblade is good to go, yeah.
Okay, all right.
You don't have to do the Tandy. I don't mind being Tandy, but Johnathanblade is more than plenty.
I mean, if I had a preference, I just call you Blade, honestly. I feel like is what I've done up until now, which feels weird in a way, but...
No, it makes sense. People have their visceral association to what Blade is, so yeah, it makes sense.
It's too good. It's too good, man.
You've
too good. Outdone yourself, yeah, as far as internet names go. So, welcome, Johnathanblade, to
Thank
Cinematic.
You, sir.
Yeah.
I am very happy to be here, Ryan. I'm happy to talk about this movie specifically.
So that is my first question, actually, because, and I can't remember where the conversation took place at this point. There's just too many avenues, and some of them we've deleted at this point, I feel like. But
we started this conversation after a rewatch that I did of The Perfect Weapon, because The Perfect Weapon has a very special place in my heart as a 90s movie, but I hadn't watched it like again in probably over 20 years. And after that first rewatch, I was like, man, this is not what the rose-colored glasses were like blood red for this movie. So
the last time we got together was to talk about Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher from 1989.
That's right.
Which I'll link down below. It was an episode over on your podcast, and we'll talk about where that's at and where people can find you and stuff at the end, like they do. But in, such grand tradition, we only come together for the very best then.
Best of the best.
I have to know why The Perfect Weapon holds, because when I asked that question, I was like, yeah, you have to come on. We have to talk about some more. And you mentioned, I think, 3 different movies. One of them was, I think, a Flying Guillotine movie, or Guillotine movie.
Master of the Flying Guillotine, which I watched again recently.
Oh, okay. Shoot. Well, I haven't seen it yet, so it's good we're not doing that just yet. But I would have to go backwards, and I'm trying to go forwards with this series as much as possible.
As well you should. You're not missing
anything. The other one was Rumble in the Bronx, which you need to come back for because it's kind of the only reason I'm here.
Oh, I would love that. That is a domestic classic.
Okay, excellent. And then The Perfect Weapon. So you mentioned it holds a special place in your heart. Why? What happened? Give me some history. Why is this among those 3?
This is the era of this kind of movie. And this kind of movie existed in an environment where it was this kind of movie, this kind of TV, this kind of magazine. It was all encompassing. This one stood out because it was a new action star. The American Kempo that was presented in the movie was a new martial art to me. And as I remember it, I associate this movie with something that may or may not exist in this movie, which is the machine gun strikes. That is what I remember about this movie. And at the time when I saw this movie, first you've got the incredible licensed Snap theme song, I've Got the Power.
I cannot believe it.
So the commercials drilled in my head.
Right.
Jeff Speakman he's still a very handsome man. I remembered him as being a more charismatic presence on screen, which we will also talk about. And this is a tangent, but I remember Arsenio Hall talking to Steven Seagal in an interview one day about who Steven Seagal respected as Hollywood martial arts actors. And one of the people he mentioned was Jeff Speakman. Not that he respected Jeff Speakman directly, but he knew Jeff Speakman's sensei, Ed Parker, and he respected Ed Parker.
Of course.
So, yeah, all that
sounds like a very Seagal answer, by the way. Who do you respect, Steven Seagal? Oh, you mean like besides myself? Well, it's a short list, and of course,
Nobody in the movies,
not
but
Jeff
Ed Parker.
Speakman. Yeah, Ed Parker, who we'll talk about too. Actually, I can just say it up front. Ed Parker was like the title that most people gave him, or an interviewer gave him that stuck, was the father of American karate. I guess he took Kenpo especially and applied a science to it that I guess, again, coming from many of his students and Jeff Speakman being one of them, applied a science that hadn't been applied just yet. So he's pretty big in the world, and he's been in a few movies too. I did actually recognize him when I saw clips of him. So
yeah, it was interesting because there's a line in the movie that says Kenpo is like 2,000 years old, but Japanese martial arts isn't even 2,000 years old. So yeah, that was fun. That was fun. But Kenpo itself was made in like the 50s, I think. The 40s. The American Kenpo was made in the 40s and 50s in like Hawaii. Yep. So Ed Parker was one of the creators of the script, of the story. But he created this story with the idea that he would star in the movie. And they were like, really? Yeah, you don't look like a movie star, which is how Jeff Speakman got the role. They were like, your student looks like a movie star, but you don't look like a movie star.
I'll grant that, because in those clips where I did kind of recognize him, I was like, okay, he's got a look, because he's like this stocky, white-haired dude that's like, he would fit right in a Hong Kong action movie, but... Yes, that might have been.
And then they went with Jeff Speakman, who is not an actor either.
Better, though, I'm going to say.
Probably better, yeah.
We're speaking of degrees, yeah.
He did the heck out of that kata, though. That kata at the beginning of the movie. Everything into doing that kata. Like, this is going to make me a movie star. This one kata is what's going to make me a movie star. It's
movie ready for sure. And it's, again, right in the middle of I've got the power. But it looks good. Like, we can disagree for sure, but I'm kind of on the Jeff Speakman train. Like, when he talks about him being the next big thing, and he does, he'll talk about it here and there. Very humble dude, had a cancer scare that really, brought him down to earth too, but isn't afraid to say that he was the next big thing in a way. I kind of buy it after watching this movie. I don't know.
I probably felt that way in the 90s, in the early 90s. I was like, yeah, Jeff Speakman is the man. I don't feel that way now. Like I said, after my first rewatch, I was like, you can never go home again. This rewatch was a little bit kinder. Like, I do appreciate some of the things of the movie. But did we say before?
Go for it, man. No holds barred. Let's do it.
Before we're taking down this kind of looks like 90s TV. It's very 90s TV. There's a lot of Foley work doing the heavy lifting, which I did not remember as being the thing, and a lot of the shots and the fight choreography is it's confusing. I don't know why they shot it that way, especially if you have trained martial artists. Like, a lot of the scenes are martial artist actor. There's one scene that's two guys who are combat sports, they have a lot of experience in combat sports, and even that scene is the last fight, actually.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's a
wrestler.
You're
talking about the professor? Yeah, Toru Tanaka. Yeah, okay.
It's a wrestler and Jeff Speakman, a trained martial artist, and even that fight was not shot properly. It was shot like a crappy TV show where they didn't have time to block it properly or make sure that they didn't hit each other or something. I don't know why it was shot like that.
I mean, there's a huge size disparity. I mean, and Jeff Speakman's a tall dude, but Tanaka is, yes, known from professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, he was a childhood friend of Ed Parker. Like, this wasn't even a, let's get the famous wrestler from the 80s to stand in here. It was...
Is he from Hawaii?
Ed Parker knew the dude. Yes, they both grew up in Hawaii, I guess, is how it went. So, interesting connection. That wasn't the one I thought it would be in the moment. But, okay. Interesting that you mentioned that, because if you really want to know, especially viewers, if you want to know how full of it I am, when I went back and listened to the original episode where myself and Matt Amberg talked about this movie when we watched it just way too long ago. But in that movie, I remembered saying exactly what you just said, pretty much, that the choreography really didn't do it for me. It was kind of jumpy, and I got lost. I specifically called out the jump cuts in the middle of a fight, which is, especially coming from Hong Kong action, kind of a no-no. Even cutting on the action to some extent is a no-no. Like we learned about that in editing school. But you can still make it work. These are rules that are meant to be broken to some extent here and there. But I had that complaint the first time. And not remembering, I didn't listen to that podcast until I had rewatched it this second time and had my notes already. This time, had nothing but good things to say.
Oh, look at you.
So that's how full of it I am.
You've been watching so much Hong Kong cinema. I thought that you would hate the action, like just despise the action in this movie. They never pull the camera back. There's one fight, which I think is the thug alleyway fight, where they actually show stuff happening. And then in none of the other fights do they really make an effort to show what's happening.
I should say, not that I have nothing bad to say, but I was largely positive on it. In fact, I think my note was, especially as far as American productions go, which I've been dipping into more, because you're right. Between the first time I watched this movie, which was the very first time, and now, which is only the second time, I have watched 40 plus Hong Kong action movies. So yes, I feel like I would have a lower opinion of it, but my note was basically that when it comes to American productions, this might be the best one so far. So I don't know if that's saying everything, and it's certainly I'll go on record as saying it's not as good as any of the Hong Kong action movies we've seen, but liked it a lot for whatever reason. It felt oddly competent this time around, even though I can't disagree with anything that you're saying.
Well, it does have a nice collection of players. It has some solid players. It's got like a who's who of Asian actors in cinema at the time.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Tell me if you recognize some of these names. James Hong, of course.
Of course.
Dante Bosco.
Rufio, yeah.
Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa. Shang Tsung himself, obviously. Before Mortal Kombat. Professor Toru Tanaka, like I mentioned. Clyde Kusatsu, which maybe nobody recognizes the name, although you easily could. But you would recognize him immediately, even if, like me, you couldn't say from where. Like, was it from Scarecrow and Mrs. King? Was it from MASH? Was it from Simon and Simon, Cagney and Lacey? Dallas, T.J. Hooker, Hunter, and not just 80s stuff, but...
So the thing is, I want to be like, I have no idea what any of those references are, and it makes me sad that I know every one of those TV shows.
I know
everyone.
You do. Jim. And he's still going. Like what's his most recent thing? Again, it's impossible that you don't recognize him. Days of Our Lives. Oh, there you go.
Wow.
Check out Days of Our Lives for...
How did you not start off with Mako, though?
I know, you're right. Yeah, well, I'm not done yet. That's how. Yeah, but yes, Mako. John Dye, who I actually didn't know the first time around because I hadn't seen Best of the Best yet.
So John Dye looks like an 80s guy. He looks like an actor who would have been in a bunch of stuff. He looks like an actor who would have been in a John Hughes movie, but I looked at his filmography, and I don't really know John Dye. Like, I've seen some of those movies, but
I do not, yeah.
But I don't know John Dye, and he looks like one of those guys from that era.
And he plays Jeff Speakman's little brother, grown up, is now a cop in this movie, and they have a reckoning of sorts, even though Jeff, who is named Jeff in the movie also, by the way, uses him to get to the bad guy. Yes.
Oh, another name that you haven't mentioned yet. Mariska Hargitay.
There it is.
Like the last time I saw it, I was like, man, there must have been something here that was cut out of the movie. And then after I read the Wikipedia on it, whole plot line cut out of the movie.
Really? Okay, that doesn't surprise me at all.
She's pretty high in the credits to like just be a random face that gets under a minute of screen time, really.
Yeah, and not a single line. I mean, unless you count her, there's an actress who plays her younger self that has a line, but she does not.
So. They were trying to build something. They were like, nope, we got to hit that 1990s 90 minutes or whatever, and so her stuff just got excised completely.
I have a note on that too, speaking of which, because it doesn't even hit the 90. Like, it's 125, I think, easy. But she doesn't have a single line, and she's like probably the biggest name to come out of this thing eventually. Like, if there's any retro, this happened to me with, spoiler alert, The Guyver. Have you ever seen The Guyver?
Yes, with
Okay.
Luke Skywalker.
Yes, Mark Hamill himself,
Yeah.
which if you look at any of the kind of maybe DVD covers or retroactive key art that was created after the fact, it's all like Mark Hamill and the Guyver like next to it, like he's the Guyver. He's not like at all. So
yeah, I saw the Guyver later, so I always thought that Mark Hamill was the Guyver.
Right, same.
Because I saw the box art.
Right. And so I'm guessing there's got to be a Perfect Weapon box art somewhere that's like Mariska Hargitay, just right up front.
Oh,
like,
there has to
movie.
be. Like Mariska Hargitay and maybe James Hong.
Yeah.
And no Jeff Speakman.
Yep. So yeah, it's kind of a killer cast is the strangest thing, you know?
Yeah, they have a lot of charm. They're good on screen.
They are. And I will include Jeff Speakman, even if he's not the best actor among them. You know,
Jeff Speakman was fine. You know what, the movie reminds me of something like, you remember the Lorenzo Lamas show Renegade?
Renegade, you're going to say? Absolutely.
Yeah, it has that kind of era vibe. Lorenzo Lamas as Renegade.
Oh yeah.
Except Lorenzo Lamas has a little bit more screen presence.
That is true. I mean. The most screen presence. Like I haven't seen that maybe since I was a child, and I could tell you that Lorenzo Lamas. Yeah,
he's so sassy.
And I don't know, did Jeff Speakman narrowly avoid such a fate? I mean, obviously his end is maybe a little bit more famous than that of Lorenzo Lamas, which I'm trying not to retread some of what I talked about in that original episode, so I'll just say really quickly, he was going to be the main guy in Speed and ended up not being the main guy in Speed, obviously, and it was kind of downhill from there.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Because at the time, he and Keanu probably had about the same amount of on-screen charisma, but Keanu's a little bit more eclectic of a presence on screen, so...
I mean... You're right. For the time period, they're not far off. Like, seeing a Speed with Jeff Speakman isn't that crazy. I feel like once we get, I guess, who knows how it would have gone. But
Keanu had some good work in there. I'm not discounting the power of Keanu. But I am discounting the power of this script. This movie it's not actively dumb, but as 80s movies are often, it skips a lot of steps. It jumps to some weird leaps in logic, and the way it's structured is very odd. Do you want to go from the beginning to the end, or how do you want to look at this movie?
Tell me when it starts to jump off the rails for you, because I have a note exactly when. Speaking of that stuff,
so there are a bunch of things, but specifically, there's something that really bothered me, which is. When they introduce James Hong as a misdirect, they've kind of already shown his face as the villain, and then the misdirect for James Hong only takes like a few minutes. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's such a waste of time.
That is exactly my note. Is at that point, because it's pretty straightforward. You know, his friend. I mean, I guess I say straightforward when it fits squarely into that genre of movie where the white guy is just too dangerous. You know, it's like a Roadhouse, if it may. You know, that was always the weird thing about Roadhouse is that like his main emotional thrust or depression is that he's just too good at killing people.
You're off the rails, Jeff. You gotta kill somebody.
Yeah, gets kicked out of the house because of it. Comes back to find the guy that kind of was his surrogate father in a way after the fact. Has been killed by the Korean mafia, and then he's out for revenge. So pretty straightforward as far as that goes. But you're right. Once he runs into James Hong, who is like, this is, there's 4 Korean mafia bosses, and I'm one of them, but I'm the one that didn't do it, and kind of sends, which is funny, this is like where the title of the movie comes from, sends Jeff Speakman the perfect weapon to kill the other mafia bosses, basically, but that's where Rufio kind of turns things around for him and tells him the truth and whatnot. But you're right, that little digression feels like, because it's also just an and then, it's not, there's no mystery. They don't let anything settle for a little bit. It's just one to the other that starts at the crock pit club, which I'm pretty sure, did you notice this? Tell me, when he walks into the crock pit, I'm pretty sure that's an alligator in the fish tank.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. But yeah, then it's like over within the amount of time it takes him to just go, oh, no. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, unlike this movie. When he gets in the car with James Hong, James Hong is like, I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to find this guy. Cut to, they found that guy. Like, he just drives him to that guy, which to carry Hiroyuki Tagawa. And then he's back in the car, and he's like, now you need to go to this guy. And then he's at that guy. So yeah, it feels like, even though it doesn't take that long, it was something that they threw in there to get just as much closer to 90 minutes as they could, or something like that.
Speaking of Carrie, that gym scene also bothered me as far as an action scene. That scene is the one, so it's all throughout the movie, like this is just Foley work, is all throughout the movie, but there's a scene in the gym scene, which is the thing that I remember most about the martial arts of the movie, which is the machine gun strikes. They shoot the climax of that scene from behind the guy getting hit, and they cut to that angle, but there's so much of the guy getting hit in frame that you cannot see what is happening. You just hear the machine gun strikes from the Foley work, and that's what I came here for. Came here to see and hear that. You got to do better. That gym fight was really disappointing, because they cut that scene to heck as well. So
it's pretty choppy, but again, for some reason I didn't have a problem with it. You keep mentioning the sound. I got to tell you, you know who readily admits to having Final Cut on not only the fight scenes, but also the sound edit? Jeff Speakman. He says they let him in there and were like, gave him Final Cut. Like, he says he choreographed all of the fight scenes in the movie, number one. But he also says that Ed Parker was on set, I think, every time. So it was probably him and Ed Parker.
Because Ed Parker wants to have his martial art represented, like, well.
And he says he loved, like, it was the highlight of his life, according to Jeff Speakman. So, and then in the editing room, yeah, they were also like, you get final say on the sounds. So I guess you have Jeff Speakman to really blame for all of that.
Well, the thing is that I'm not saying that the sound is bad or faulty or anything. I'm saying that it in the movie they use it as a stand-in for the actual showing the actual action taking place, and that bothers me.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that, because you're right. That gym scene, which is probably the centerpiece fight of the movie, you know, I always talk about, if you're going to YouTube something, that's the thing you YouTube. The gym scene is probably the thing you YouTube. But I liked it. Like, it again, from American standards, I feel like, and it being as choppy as it is, I don't know why it landed with me so much better this time around. But I mean, there's some actual contact going on there that I think looks really good, and Speakman will cop to as well. I don't know, but it all comes together in again, maybe just good for an American production way for me. But you're right, they do maybe lean on the sound as a crutch for lack of coverage, it seems like, here and there.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, you see Speakman in those stretchy 90s jeans and no shirt, and what are you going to do? How are you going to respond? It's a beautiful thing.
And they are in a gym, but it is funny that it's like, yeah, okay, let's fight. And then next scene, everybody's shirtless. It's just like, all the shirts are gone.
Yeah.
So, you know, ladies
very
show up
90s.
for this one too.
Yeah, you have to have something in there for the ladies.
True.
I will say that I'm ragging on this movie, but once again, with this second rewatch, I didn't hate it. I actually had a good time with it. But as like a disposable, regular piece of 90s entertainment. It's not awful. Jeff Speakman's not awful. And actually, there is one line in the movie that I thought was extraordinary. And of course, it is a line delivered by, was it James Hong? Yes, it was James Hong.
Probably, yeah.
There's a gun pointed at Jeff Speakman's head, and James Hong looks at Carrie and he says, brains this way. That was cold. He had like the cigarette in his hand too. He's like, brains this way. The little smirk. Good. Oh, it was beautiful.
You're right. Right next to the movie title Call Out, that probably is up there. They're like head-to-head best lines of the film.
It's like sure. That and I've Got the Power as the things that are, yes, this still, it holds up. I'm amped. I'm hyped.
Yeah. Yep. uh, maybe disappointingly so, here and there. But again, I don't know if this has the staying power maybe that some others,
So I wouldn't even say it reaches the levels of like an early Van Damme movie, because Van Damme is a charisma monster.
True.
Like he's just he's gobbling up the attention, he's eating up the screen. There is one more thing along with the misdirect that bothers me about this movie, but this is not like a thing that's outside of par for the course for a 90s movie especially. So Jeff, his issue is that he is angry and violent and he might kill somebody. And then they honor him at the end because he was able to resist his urge for revenge or whatever. And he gets props from his father and from his sensei for his restraint. But also he kills people. He kills at least 2 people at the end in that ending stretch. And I guess because he didn't kill them with his bare hands or something, he gets a pass. But and then it does that 90s thing where where the police show up and they kind of let you walk away from the scene of the crime because you're the guy. Also, not a thing that is solely belongs to this movie, but it is something that I notice all the time now.
Yeah, it's of the era for sure. I mean, he while I love Tanaka's death, he just explodes like full on. It's a pretty good shot too. Like they cut it at just the right moment, so whatever dummy that is, you see the pieces fly, and not like a gory way or whatever. But
well, you see the man get set on fire.
Yeah, well, that too. Actually, yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, Jeff just whew, that was close, and walks away. And they try the movie does try to have its cake and eat it too in a lot of different ways. One of them being, now knowing that they did decide to cut Mariska Hargitay's stuff, they still try to make that kind of the ending of the movie where he gets the girl for some reason, and she closes the doors on the movie,
that scene should have just been him and his sensei, really. Yeah. It doesn't need a whole tangent love story, but she could have had, as a martial artist, probably the assistant instructor of that martial arts school, she could have done stuff.
I mean, she was the one, her character, when she was a kid, it seemed like was the one that had it figured out long before Jeff Speakman. And we could see that would have been her role in the movie, the one that has been through this or is just smart enough to know not to kill people already, was born with this innate knowledge of sorts. So yeah, I'm guessing one would think it wasn't even that good, which is why they decided to cut it, but you can't really trust that, again, given the era and all that, but who knows?
So I'm trying to think, also, the director, Mark DeSalle, this is the only movie, I think, that he directed by solo.
Correct.
He co-directed Kickboxer.
Producer. Yeah.
And he probably could have used a little bit more experience, but...
Which is maybe why he leaned on Speakman so much. I don't know, because it was rare even for the time, still, maybe just always, for people to, actually it was probably more common back then when they seemed to trust and cast martial artists more than they do now. But yeah, to put him in the editing room and be like, what looks good and how does this come together, is pretty rare, I feel like, regardless.
Yeah. So, well, they probably also thought they had a potential big name because it was that era. They were like, this is the martial arts era. The thing is that I don't know if I saw another Jeff Speakman movie in the theater. I'm sure he did a bunch of straight-to-video stuff, and I can't remember anything else. I know he did other stuff, but I can't remember anything else that he did that I saw in the theater.
So the only thing that comes up, I watched the Art of Action episode with him in it again, and the only thing that comes up is, oh, wow. So he's been in a lot more than I was about to say. Street Night. Sorry, that's what it was.
But is that the only other theatrical release, or is everything else straight to video? Or I guess
actually that's a good point. I don't even know if Street Night was theatrical. Yeah, no. I mean, to hear him tell his story again, what happened with Speed was that his entire contract was going to get, the Godfather 3 killed the CEO in charge of Paramount at the time, so a lot of stuff got sold off. The script for Speed being one of them, and they couldn't get it back. But they also Speakman couldn't leave his contract with Mark.
He was contracted to Paramount.
Yeah. So he ended up having to do whatever Dassault told him to do. But he's got a fair amount of movies after that. It looks like he was pretty consistently working until 2006. Now he's, I believe, got his dojo out in LA still.
Oh, I'm sure he's definitely a dojo guy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't seen anything else he's been in. That would be an interesting exercise. I wonder if anybody would be up for it.
The Speakman season. I do like Street Night, and then I'd be like, you know what? I'm good. Forever.
I get the feeling that's how it would be. I mean, and he'll tell you in that episode, he's like, yeah, The Perfect Weapon is by far the best movie I ever did. So if it's all downhill from here, I don't know that maybe we spend that much time, but it might be a fun exercise here and there.
Oh, maybe he's talking about budget-wise, maybe. I can't imagine that he didn't get better and better as this is his first movie, so.
True. Actually, good point. I don't know if he perfected his craft at any point along the way, but he is pretty vocal about the quality of the movies thereafter not being as good as The Perfect Weapon, which, again, to be clear,
his honesty. Yeah.
I think we like The Perfect Weapon, even if we have complaints, and we can say, it's like everybody always gets bent out of shape. They're like, oh, why you're just ragging on this movie? No. It's bad, and I like it. I wouldn't say The Perfect Weapon is bad, but, both things can exist at the same time. If that isn't the slogan of this particular series,
The Perfect Weapon is perfectly passable 90s fare. It is the perfect Friday night rental for the early / mid 90s. And like I said, it's got some really strong actors in it, and you get some really decent performances from those actors.
Yeah, even if only for a few minutes.
Yeah.
The perfectly passable weapon. Is that what we're going
and sometimes that's all you need.
So I did actually watch this with my family this time around. So I do have, I took their statements. Would you like to hear my family's statements on this particular film?
Should I be scared? Should I be scared? Are they mad that we did this?
No, I think they are often kind to me, especially when I show them a Cynthia Rothrock movie, which they said, I'll just get out in front of this. They said they liked the Cynthia Rothrock movies better than this one. Mm-hmm. But my wife, Candy, did note that it was different. She said that this one felt a little bit less disciplined. In fact, more MMA, which is how she put it, which makes sense, I think, as far as the action goes.
Is a hybrid art, so yeah.
Right. Especially, if I understand correctly, what Jeff Speakman did with it. He kept evolving that art. But and she said that's not a complaint, by the way. She said it was just, even though she did like the other ones better, she thinks that Mariska should have been edited out completely.
Yeah.
Which is probably a decent call. If not kept in completely, I guess we'll never know how good or bad that was. But she also really enjoyed the relationship with the brother, which I will actually echo this. Maybe earlier on, when it's young Speakman and young John Dye, whoever those actors are, she kind of was invested in how they walked around kind of arm in arm, and he looked up to his brother so much. They almost do, maybe I've just seen Ninja Turtles too recently, but there's a shot of him in his bedroom, Jeff doing his Kenpo with his little brother in the background mimicking him. And I'm like, oh, he's Splinter in the Cage right now, basically.
But evidently he learned nothing.
Right.
So hold on, before you continue with that, the brothers, Jeff specifically told his brother to walk away. Mm-hmm. And then his brother got him into that situation, and he ate it. There should have been a conversation there somewhere, or he should have had some resentment towards his brother, something. He ate that, and that made me mad. I've been in a situation like that with my own brother, where somebody was messing with my little brother, and I'm like, who's messing with my little brother? And then I come to find out that he deserved the situation that he was in. That made me feel a specific way.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He gives the football player the bird, and the football player maybe overreacts to that a little bit.
He definitely overreacted, but walk away. Walk away,
right?
Because I can kill this person. I don't want to kill this person, so let's.
I'm the perfect weapon. Dang it! Don't you? You got to be careful. But she gave it, in the end, my wife gave this one, it's funny, I was like, so how many stars? Because that's probably what I'm going to end up doing on Letterboxd after we're done talking. She's like for a kung fu movie or an actual movie? And I was like, well, I don't know, both. So this received 3 out of 5 stars for a kung fu movie. She would have given 4 stars to the Cynthia Rothrock movies, but a 2.5 out of 5 for normal movies. Because Jeff Speakman's beard looked drawn on sometimes. My daughter did like it as well. She said it was fun to watch. She was far less forthcoming, I think, with her opinion, but she liked how she could follow the story easily, she said, and didn't have to read captions because obviously those other ones come with a lot of captions. But
you've got a lot. You guys have a lot of future bonding time in the 90s with all those short movies. That's the saving grace of this and many other movies. They're just short video night movie. Yeah.
Oh man, don't you love it? Especially nowadays. It's like, give me it like, what is this, 61 minutes? Is this barely a feature?
Yes, it is barely a feature, and that is beautiful. That's why I told my buddy I'd go see Warfare with him, because it's like 95 minutes or something.
Oh, I love it. It's 5 out of 5 stars already. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just a little taste of what might be to come and what goes on behind the scenes here at Cinematic. We talk about other movies.
How can you not? We're movie guys.
We're movie guys. A pretty decent title for a podcast. Or this is the one I was thinking of for us. The Podcast Orphans at this point. Because I feel like we both had shows.
Man, that hurts. That hurts still. I think we have recorded in like a year and a half, and that hurts still.
Yeah, so that is my next question then for the folks. Where can people find you? And is it still over at Smack My Pitch Up? I mean, you can find the back episodes over there for sure.
Yeah, look for the back episodes of Smack My Pitch Up. Even if we never record again, we may. My co-host on that show got very busy. He is still heavily involved in the podcast industry by profession. And he says that he will release the remaining few episodes and that one day we will again release some episodes. Because the podcast network is still going strong. I think a lot of the shows are on hiatus, but the
Geeks
podcast,
Under the Influence?
The Geeks Under the Influence podcast network is still going strong. So
wait, he's got some episodes of Smack My Pitch Up in the can already?
Yeah.
That you guys recorded?
There's like 3 unreleased episodes.
Interesting.
And one of them is big. The final unreleased episode is big. And I don't even care about the other ones. I would like to hear the final unreleased episode. We'll see.
I would too. Shoot. Okay. Didn't even know that. All right.
Yeah. But beyond that, my handle is Johnathanblade. I have also kind of been on hiatus this year, but the show is not over. It is coming back in some form. So you can still find it there for right now. My handle is Johnathanblade. And fingers crossed. Maybe rebrand, maybe not, but it'll still contain the Johnathanblade handle. So,
absolutely, got to keep it going. I wouldn't blame you at all for keeping that part intact. Excellent,
yes, sir.
And I'll get some of those links below in the show notes for anybody that wants to. This man is a wonderful follow wherever he's located, which I think is mostly Threads and Blue Sky nowadays.
Yeah, I'm on all the things except for X, really.
Right. I'm impressed that we called it X in any form at this point. I'm still
that's probably the first time I've ever called it that on air, actually. But
so I'll cut that out.
Instagram, whatever, what have you, I'm probably there.
Excellent. And thank you for being here. And please come back when we do, at the very least, Rumble in the Bronx. That was, I'm still working all of this stuff out. And when you mentioned those 3 movies, I was like, okay, let's do Rumble in the Bronx. And then when Perfect Weapon came up, I'm like, why don't we just do all of them? So
yeah, I'm
come
excited
back for Rumble in the Bronx.
Because I haven't seen Rumble since I saw it in the theater.
Oh, wow.
But that might not have been the first time that I saw Jackie Chan on screen, because he'd been in a few American movies before that, but it's the first time I remember Jackie Chan.
Yep.
Incredible.
Me too. That couldn't be more perfect why we have that in common, because like I said, that's probably the reason I'm here. First time I saw Jackie, first time I was like, oh, this is completely different. First time I saw Hong Kong action, in I'm sure by that point, somewhat
Had never
Americanized
seen anything
fashion,
like it on screen. Yeah.
So that'll be fun, my friend. Either way, thanks for hanging out to you, to everybody that tuned in this time around. I usually say I'll be back next week with whatever movie I'll be back next week with, but I don't know what that is at this point. It might be The Guyver, but I'm also thinking I might do a double feature on that one with 1 and 2. So it might also be something else. That's all.
I'm sure it'll be fantastic regardless.
Excellent. I'm less sure, but I'm willing to go with. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be great. Love doing this. Love being here, and thanks for being here for it too. Everybody.